Joined us, we're back in Sweden, Ostersund hosting the first round of the World Cup this year, as has become the way ever since 2008, essentially, except for last year when Ostersund hosted the World Championship. So Pacuca got the honour of taking the first round. So we will wait and see whether that ever changes. Let's have a closer look at the course profile. Big climb up to the high point and then undulating. And a relatively easy entry down into the range area. The key always here is what is the wind doing as you come in?
That is the key. It's always created some difficulty, and you can see there, Patrick, that's not too difficult. Give yourself 3 spare chances with the 3 spare rounds, and that shouldn't trouble too many of the biathletes.
Well, here's the start sheet. Norway, of course, as I mentioned, the world champions. They got 3 wins out of 5 last year, 6 of the last world titles. Going to be tough to beat, no doubt about it. Team number 2 are Russia, who won in Oberhof last year, and they've only had 2 in the top 20 of the World Cup last year, so you wouldn't expect to see them holding out. The first men's relay of the season is about to get underway. We saw Italy take the mixed relay last week. We saw Sweden take the single mixed relay last weekend. Who is going to take the first 4x7.5? The main players, Norway obviously, Russia, well, let's hope they hang in there long enough. They've got some really good talent in there. Malishko, Loginov, Velisiev, and then Germany, of course, you know, they haven't done much in the last 15 years, but they're always dangerous. If you look at them on paper, you think, yeah, they could really do something. And I just get a feeling we might see a surprise. France, obviously, stars of the show a couple of days ago, so they could put themselves in a strong position. And then Austria, Sweden, the Czech Republic, Italy, all have a chance. I wouldn't say of winning, but they have a chance of getting in the top 3.
I think so. Germany, you mentioned it does seem strange when you put the 4 names together, you expect at least a podium. Last year, from 5 relays in the whole racing season, they only put themselves on the podium twice, and that was 2nd position. Eric Lesser, 72nd position he had on Wednesday. They put him first, and he's tried to go straight to the front to hold them back, if you like, and that's maybe that's maybe their clever strategy. Yeah, if you're way off the pace as he was just 2 days ago. Yeah,
and if you know you're slightly slower than the rest, if you go out front, you control the pace. You may take the win, but you control the pace.
It's troubling me though, Patrick, because he shoots so fast. He's going to be a little bit over his comfort zone by leading this, by leading all of the world in this relay start.
Sugary snow. Had a bit of rain before the individual. Very, very soft tracks, which really didn't do the later starters any favours whatsoever. So Germany leading with Eric Lesser. Johannes Dahle of Norway in 2nd place. Sweden in the bright yellow on the left of your screen. They're looking pretty good. Torstein Sternesson is taking the first leg for them. Who's that on the far side, Mike? Is that Belarus with Smolsky?
It is indeed. It's Team 11. And they're going well, and great facility. If you've got a world-class facility, and the World Cups are going to be going back there, I think, 2 years' time to Minsk. It's been a long time. So that should be interesting. This course, I think, Patrick, it lends itself to the less good skiers, so those with slower track time, to stay with the pace, because for every climb you're getting good recovery, and the stronger athletes can get away from the weaker ones if it's a continual brutal climb. So it gives an opportunity, I think, for everyone to hold on with the faster skiers, specifically on this track, more than many others.
Say that again. So you're saying if the hills aren't too long, the weaker skiers can hang in there and then they get a recovery on the way back down.
On the undulations that we get here, so you've got 300 meters, 250 meters flat, then you do a short climb of 100 meters, then it's flat again, and then you've got a brutal little climb, then you've got 300 meters down. For me, and racing this relay, for me it was one of the easier ones to stay with the fastest skiers. Whether it is the factor of no continual brutal climbs, every race is hard, you're pushing yourself max. This is much faster today. So yeah, the teams aren't separated by more than, what, 8 seconds at the moment.
Lucas Hoffer for Italy wearing 8. Looks comfortable. I'd be more comfortable seeing him in the pack, just settling down. We've always known he's a good skier. You know, it'll be interesting to see what we get in terms of shooting this year. You can never be quite sure. His performances do fluctuate quite wildly.
He certainly had an incredible ski time in the 20 kilometre, which is the 3rd fastest, only 4.5 seconds slower than Martin Fourcade, who kind of destroyed. There were 4 athletes that destroyed the rest of the field in terms of track time.
Jacquelin, one of them. Jacquelin on the first leg for France. They're wearing bib 4. Austria are wearing 5. I think they're sitting back in around 8th place at the moment. We'll get confirmation on that. Sweden in bright yellow, sitting, what, 5-6 with Sternesson. And then the Czech Republic, we've got Mickey Schlesinger on the first leg for the Czech Republic. Now, he was winning World Cup medals back in 2007. He's been around an age.
Good for him. He did well in the individual, shot well. That's with age comes experience through the rifle, and I hope that he can hold it together on the range today. China, Patrick, they put the best biathlete, Fang Ming Sheng, only 22-year-old, in the first leg. I saw him like there he is. Yeah, he's ahead of about 12 teams.
Well, in around 20th position, getting World Cup points in the individual. Brilliant start, and as we've mentioned already, but we'll keep mentioning because they're now coached by Uliana Bjorndalen, and it's going to be fascinating to see if his coaching career is as successful as his competitive one. Is that the Austrians going down?
He's taking a long time getting back up. But that's right, and Daria Dombracheva training as well, training the national team, the Chinese national team.
So first shoot, and 2 shoots for each athlete, so 8 in all, 40 shots, 40 targets. But they do have an extra 24 rounds of ammunition to hit those.
Only 11 seconds separating all the teams.
Often those down at the furthest end of the range get the targets down first. Bulgaria do exactly that. Great shooting from them. Germany, very rapid shooting from Eric Lesser. As you said, Mike, shoots fast, skis fast. That's a good start. Jacquelin is clear for France. Russia with 1 mistake. Norway stay clear, but taking their time. Good tactics from Dale. You're not going to win it now, but you can easily lose it at this stage if you give yourself and your later runners too much to do. A meltdown for Switzerland. Finland have, I think they must have bent the barrel on the way round. That's a dreadful start for them.
Oh.
And Japan, 1 shot, 1 round remaining. Otherwise, they are on the penalty loop. No, they avoid it. Well done from them. So Germany lead, 6:07 the time for the first 2.5K lap.
Well, let's take a look. Who was it who took the tumble? Oh, that's a real pity. He was way up the front. It was Rastogoyevs for Latvia, and that's put him. Well, he's down in 17th. He did well on the range after that fall, only using 1 spare round. Yeah,
he lost 1 spare round, so he threw away 6-7 seconds with that. Only 15 behind, so that cost him less than 10 seconds, that little spin out. The falls on the downhill are the most costly, where you lose your momentum, particularly if you fall in the compression at the bottom of a downhill.
Hey, this is a sharp pace now from Jacquelin. 4th fastest ski time.
Yeah, he's trying to do some serious damage, and that is going to hurt the rest of the field. They have no option but to try and chase. Dale in 3rd for Norway. Good start from him.
And Canada, that's good.
Yeah, really.
We saw some magic from him last year. More of the same this year. And there's Finland in the background, penalty loop way behind the pack.
So France, where you'd expect to see them after their performances throughout the week, leading Germany. Emilien Jacquelin, part of this super squad from France. The French 3 times on the podium, 5 relays last year. They started badly with a 9th in the first round of the relay, and then had 3 successive podiums, and then had a bit of a meltdown before the World Championships, which was obviously a big disappointment for them. I'm trying to remember the story of that, Mike. France 3 penalty loops, and I think they had 1 on leg 3, and then of course Martin Fourcade did 2 penalty loops on the very last shoot.
That was, it's unheard of last year. If you lose the magic, you lose a little bit of confidence, as he did last year. It even comes through in the relays. And we were amazed, I think, on that day that he was given the anchor position. If you're off form, you want to not hide in the pack, but you don't want the absolute pressure of the anchor leg.
Yeah, and when he got the baton, he was in 2nd position behind the Norwegians. So to drop from 2nd to 6th, unheard of for the greatest biathlon on the planet, bathlete on the planet at the moment, unless of course you're chatting to Johannes Tingsbø. he might have something to say about that.
Well, he is the only man to win 16 World Cup races in 1 racing season. He smashed Ole Einar's record, he smashed Martin Fourcade's record in 1 season. Not a bad bag of wins, and
yeah, that's a good haul
in one racing season. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed with the chasing group. They've had to really dig deep and claw back up to the front, but that always comes with a price. You maybe come in for your stand shoot way over your normal comfort zone.
So those leading 5 teams, sort of situation. So that might be a factor as well.
Could well be, and they've put on paper their weakest man first, the French team with the least experience, as you said. What about Felix Leitner? That's good skiing from him. Very good performance.
Well, the Austrian squad today: Leitner, Ada, Eberhardt, Landerting, average age 33. The Austrians have got to start bringing some youngsters through, blooding them in the biggest competitions that you have. Otherwise, they're going to go through a very bleak period. It happened to the Germans. Really, they've only had 1 big relay win, Germany, since 2006. That's astonishing for a team that used to expect to win all of them.
It did. It is extraordinary, and you do have to keep your youngsters coming through. The French do it.
France on lane 1. Norway next to them. Germany on lane 3. Then we have Italy and Austria in 4 and 5. Germany 5 out of 5.
Fabulous.
Great shooting from Eric Lesser. Mistake from Norway, a mistake from France, and actually a much better standard of shooting than I was expecting from those leading 5. And Austria are clear as well.
Canada 2nd place. Burnotte came in fearless. He pushed himself so hard on that track. What about Norway? This is pressure now.
2 rounds, 1 target. He should be safe, but the clock is ticking. 12, 13, 14. They're 100 meters down the track. Dale's got some work to do to get Norway back up with the leaders. And I don't think Erlend Bjørntegard, who takes the 2nd leg from Norway, is going to be too happy about that, although it does take the pressure off. Latvia are going from midfield to the back of the field. 2 penalty loops with their last shoot. And Slovakia finally get them down.
Russia are back in the game after prone shooting. Lapshin had them in 21st position. The rest of his team will be delighted. He's up to 8th at the moment. He used 2 spares in prone shooting. A great shot.
Yeah, I thought we might see something from Switzerland today, but they've gone and missed targets. 4 missed already. As you see from that leading group, only Korea doing exceptionally well, but they've missed 3 already. They're having a tremendous leg. Well, if you were as surprised as I was to see career up, just need a reminder, as Mike said, Timothy Lapshin, who did a wee transfer across to Korea prior to Pyeongchang, and he's having a very good leg out there. There's the bulk of the lead group. Hofer is in there. Jacquelin of France is there. Austrians still hanging in. That's not bad from Felix Leitner, Mike. His ski speed's been impressive. Simon Eder ready to go for leg 2 for Austria, and if Eder's anything like his best, he could keep them up in the top 5.
It's a good team, Patrick, and Leitner, yeah, you mentioned their average age, but Leitner really brings it down because it's only 22-year-old.
Lesser of Germany with the lead. Germany racing Lesser, Horn, Pfeiffer, Doll. Pfeiffer, Doll, both men who've won world titles before, so it's a strong finish for the German team. Pfeiffer used to be the regular anchor man, but actually at the moment Benedikt Doll looks to be in slightly better shape. So I think that's probably a good move. Is leg 2 the key one for Germany, Mike, with Horn?
Leg 2, he's normally reliable through the rifle. I think he's a safe bet, well experienced now, including Youth Olympics. He's had many junior world championships, so I think he can handle the pressure. Eric Lesser, though, initially when he went to the front straight away after the mass start, I had slight concern. He didn't make any mistakes on the range, one of only 4 athletes to hit 10 out of 10. And that's what comes with a lot of experience in biathlon. Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure he's produced the fastest shooting time of everyone so far. There is Philip Horn. Nervous moments for him, but with Eric Lesser on the front, he must have gone to bed last night thinking, okay, there's some 40 meters on the uphill section. That will be doubled by the time the chasers get to the top, because Lesser's on his way back down into the stadium, heading for the exchange, and that's a very, very useful lead. Germany can now decide what they do. Will Horn go hard from the start, or does he just race within himself so he makes sure he gets to the first shoot in a pretty relaxed condition?
It'll be interesting. He's going to have a lot of big names chasing him. Of course, Fillon Maillet will be straight away. He'll be told to haul that deficit, that 7-second deficit, back as soon as possible. Well, I think Eric's won himself a mass start leg for the rest of the season based on that performance.
So away go Germany. 5.9 is the lead over France and Italy. France with Fillon Maillet, perhaps the fastest man on the snow this week, bar Martin Fourcade, and Italy with Thomas Bormolini. So putting Lucas Hofer first. Bormolini now trying to hang on, and hopefully they'll give Windisch a decent starting position for the final leg. Russia going through in 8, Belarus 9, over 35 seconds behind. Ukraine are there as well. Korea, who looking good earlier on, dropping 37.2 behind. Timothy Lapshin fading in the closing stages of that leg. The Czech Republic 38, USA 53. Not the sort of performance we were expecting to see from Doherty.
Doherty, I think it was his prone shooting that let him down a little. Let's just have a confirmation. Yeah, 2 spare rounds.
And I think Philip Horn just going hard enough to make the chasers work, but he's certainly not going 100%. He hasn't thought in terms of extending that lead that he was handed at the end of the first leg. So Germany leading, 3 chasing him, Italy, France and Austria, and closing slowly thanks to the work being done by Jacquelin. I think that's probably quite clever of Austria and Italy just sitting behind, let someone else do the work, and Norway slowly coming back into it. Not the best of legs from Johannes Dahle, but he's done pretty well over the last 8 days, Mike. Got a PB in the first sprint of the season, so slowly making his way up the rankings in the Norwegian team. I
think so. He's certainly come into this season as a much stronger looking biathlete. I thought he did a great job there, pulling back 13 seconds of Erik Lesser on the final 2.5 kilometers. That's a huge work rate. And of course, Fillon Maillet is dragging the rest of the field forward. And I think Bormolini, maybe it's going to be a little negative coming into the range, skiing way above your comfort zone. And that has to be where he is when you look at his normal track speed.
Team 16 is Canada. Jules Bernot did a really good first leg for them. And their bib number indicating where they finished in the World Cup rankings last year. So 10 places higher than they were last year, Canada. They're having a very good run at the moment, but it's early days. 4 legs, remember, in this men's relay, 4 by 7.5 kilometers. Through go France. Austria with Simoneda just dropping off a little, and no panic from Norway with Bjørntegard. We've got the two Burr brothers taking legs 3 and 4 for Norway. So if they're within if they're within 30 seconds of the leaders, you'd think that they were going to be contending for the win. Once it gets down to 45 seconds a minute, then you think they're going to have a very tough time indeed, because although Talia Bo is skiing really well, Johannes is not on the sort of form we saw this time last year.
He's not. I mean, who could believe that he would lose 3 minutes, just 3 minutes 12 seconds to Martin Fourcade over 20 kilometers on Wednesday? He wouldn't have expected that. Skis did play a part, though, without a doubt. The French had great skis as a team.
A part? I think they were a starring role, weren't
they? they were, and you can see that today already. Jacquelin, he had the 4th fastest time on Wednesday. He was there, and he was there today, but not the fastest.
Canada, incidentally, went through the handover 14 seconds off. They're now 26, so they've lost 12 seconds on this first 2.5 kilometre lap. Respectable. Obviously they'd like that to be down to 0, but not likely when you've got Germany leading the way at the moment. And I must say, I think Philipp Horn's done exceptionally well. He's only lost 2 seconds to Fillon Maillet on that first loop. And good control from Fillon Maillet. I'm sure he could have closed it down had he wanted to. Bjørntegard for Norway.
Then the vastly experienced Simon Eder, a 36-year-old now, coming up 37, one of the most experienced biathletes on this leg.
So who will clear first? Germany first to take their position on the map. France next door to them, then Italy. Norway with Bjørntegard. Simoneda, who will shoot fast once he gets going, may well be the first to clear the 5 targets. Let's see.
Well, I questioned Bormolini. Oh, he missed his second one, I was going to say, but he's getting them. He missed his second.
An increase in the wind speed, and I think everyone has picked up on that. Here goes Eder. First one is down. And number 2, taking his time.
Look at Philipp Horn. That's a real mess for Germany. He's on his spare rounds with 4 targets standing.
Well, he's on the penalty loop. He's got, he could have a whole load of penalties coming his way. Austria with 2 misses. Italy are the first to clear 5. Great shooting from the Italians. That's a good move from Thomas Bormolini. The underdogs are performing again. Sweden have cleared 5. Big cheer coming up from the crowd here in Östersund. That's just what they wanted to see. Well done to them. And Sternesson handed over to Jesper Nellin, who's on course.
Germany, 2 penalty loops. Philipp Horn, he put an incredible pace round that first 2.5, and I think that's the factor. He could not steady on the rifle.
France on the loop as well. Norway and Austria avoid it, but look at that margin that Italy have gained, and they'll be delighted to see that 2 of the biggest rivals, Italy, or France and Germany, have made mistakes and have dropped out of contention for now. Canada moving up into 4, only 25 behind. They had a good shoot. They were 24 behind coming in, only lost a second. Ada in fifth for Austria, 29. That was interesting, Mike. Difficult conditions with the wind. Ada changed his tactics.
He did. He slowed it right. This wind is a massive change. It was slightly from the left. It's now coming from the front left, but almost straight towards the rifle, and that tends to put the fall of the shot down and to the right. And a lot of these athletes, Philip Horn, here he is. That's a real disappointment for him. Came in first by 7 seconds, going out now in 15th place, 105 behind.
Well, here are the standings after that third shoot. First on the second leg, only... Who was that who hasn't made a mistake? Romania, yet to make a mistake on the range. That's great shooting from them, and consequently they're sitting in the top 8 at the moment. This is a big surprise. Germany pushing hard, as were France, and both of them incurring penalty loops. Work to do for the favourites. So big surprise there, Mike. You think it was all to do with the pace they skied, or surely the wind played a part? The fact that they were leading, neither Jacquelin or Horn are really that experienced at leading relays, so a different situation. Pile that all together and out comes trouble.
Yeah, it's a trouble, but you would have thought the experience, the years of experience from
great rivals, Norway. And Norway, I think, will be very, very confident after that first shoot on this leg. Bjørntegard's record in the stand, it's not that impressive, Mike, 71%.
If the wind's the same, then I would imagine the Bear brothers will be will be a little nervous, holding their breath, maybe not even watching the targets when he comes in to shoot.
France 40 seconds behind. The penalty loop only takes 25, so Fion-Maillet shooting badly and shooting slow. It's cost them dear.
Let's be honest, it's a really surprising day. We've got Russia in 18th. Germany, we were expecting a lot better. They're in 15th today, 2 penalty loops. And of course France in 7th, but 44.8 behind. They're the big names in biathlon.
First to 15. There are men who can race relays and men who can't. Are we going to see him in the team again?
Maybe not. You get a chance like that, there's the pressure, your lead comes in and really struggles. Would you use him again? I don't think you would.
Well, I think you've got to be, you've got to give them time. You've got to allow them to get used to the situation. I'm trying to think of athletes that have been given plenty of time in relays and have come through to be outstanding team players.
Certainly in some of the teams, if you mess up, you won't be included for some time. You have to prove your credentials again. And in some ways, you know, when you got a whole team dependent on one person, you really want to have someone who can hold the nerve and also read the wind in difficult conditions.
Now the test falls on Thomas Bormolini. He skied hard. He came out of the range with a 13-second lead. Yes, the Swedes and the Norwegians have closed, but you would have expected that. Just from Bormolini's body language, I think he's been pushing the pace. So this next stand shoot could be very, very tricky. And judging, look at the coaches, they're pretty nervous as well.
Look at Bormolini's expressions. He's been hurting out there. I'm impressed. He's really had to lift his ski speed to stay at the top.
Okay, the next thing you do is look for the flags in the range. Is it strong enough to upset them in the standing position?
Oh, absolutely is. Look at that. It's gusting a little, slightly changeable, although lane 1 is probably one of the easier lanes. This flag is 5 meters from the firing point.
Can you give us a prediction?
I would say 2 spares, but I hope he can get 5 out of 5. So 5 shots, and then you've got 3 spare chances fed by hand. The wind's easy now. Go for it. You've got to go fast when you've got a quiet phase in the wind.
The crowd will tell you what happens with the Swedish targets, 3 out of 3. This is looking good. Oh, fantastic. Can they make it 5 out of 5? They do. That is how to shoot in a relay race. Yes, Benellin, fantastic. Martin Ponzalomo knows now that the weight of responsibility is on his shoulders. 2 misses from Italy. Well done, Mike. Spot on the mark. And Norway, of course, just requiring 1. So no changes in the first order. France, that was fantastic. What a comeback by Phil Maillet, because when he came out of the range last time, France were way off the mark. They've recovered incredibly quickly. They were over 30 seconds behind, and they've cut that to 18. But crucially, they've moved back up into 4th place.
That was a fabulous performance from Phil Maillet. Canada suffering right now. That's a pity for Canada. So good on the first leg.
What do you know about Capillari, who's going to be taking the 3rd leg for Italy?
Capillari, what I know is that his ski speed was 8 minutes and 30 seconds slower than Martin Fourcade over 20 kilometers. He's got his work cut out.
Yeah, the mixed relay is still Italy's best chance for top positions and medals in majors. Look how many targets are being missed. Romania, having had the best start, the best shooting record up until the 3rd shoot, have now gone and incurred 2 penalty loops. That's really sad. Germany might still in trouble. Another penalty loop for them. Oh, Philip Horn, who started so well, has absolutely blown his chance.
I totally feel for him, but look at this. Eder is struggling as well. He's going on the penalty loop. He's got 1 chance left, 2 targets standing.
He's taken 15 seconds to get it down, so that's half a loop gone, but he does avoid the embarrassment of doing 2 penalties. So Eder drops Austria down the order, and the leading 4 teams are away and clear. Margins pretty substantial at this stage of a relay, yet to reach the halfway mark. That was a little unlucky for Bormolini. Split round, but not enough of the lead hitting the target. Sweden can't quite believe what they've just seen. 5 with 5, and very few athletes did that. Jacquelin did it, and Sweden's Jesper Nellin did it.
What a fabulous feeling for Jesper Nellin. Yes, they do train a lot here, of course they do.
Remember who won the first relay last year?
They did.
Sweden in Hogfilsen.
I was just thinking, their next athlete, Hans Luma, he came 3rd in the 2nd World Cup sprint competition last year. So he wasn't such good form in the races here this week earlier, but and that's why I think this track lends itself to for your ability to hang on, to survive 7.5 Ks over this terrain.
Yes, certainly. Both World Championships that have been held here have produced some incredible racing. You know, the battle between Svensson and Bjorndalen back in 2008, plus a couple of Russians who were in the mix as well. And then Tora Berger on the women's side up against the likes of Diesel and Neuner. And then, of course, last year, fantastic racing at these Worlds. Well, the aerial shot of the tracks here in Ostersund, and it's the home team who are coming back down to reach the halfway mark first, but that counts for nothing. It's all about the next 15 kilometers. Norway in 2nd place at the moment. Terje Bø ready to go. So the 2 Bø brothers taking legs 3 and 4 for Norway. Sweden, Mike. Ponzalomo, you've mentioned. Great form this time last year. And then Seb Samuelsson. Are they a match for the Bø brothers?
On paper, you would suggest maybe not. They certainly on ski form, you would suggest not. But you know what? That's why I think a relay is fantastic, because the spare rounds give you an extra chance in terms of shooting. And I think they will be able to hold quite close to the Bø brothers on this track. There's Bormolini dropping from 2nd. Sorry, from 3rd to 4th now.
France, 20 seconds to make up. If they ski like they did in the individual race, they will have no problem closing that down. Dessieux and Fourcade versus Taliaber and Johannes Tingersberg. That is going to be a fantastic battle, and let's hope that Sweden can produce some more brilliant shooting to keep themselves in contention. Here's the man who's got to do it, Ponsalamo, and he'll get a good roar from the crowd. Something that I've noticed, Mike, when Sweden first started producing top results, it was a nervy occasion, particularly in front of their home fans. They're getting used to it now. They did it so many times. Of course, their success in the Olympics, then their success last year in the World Championships. You just feel they're not quite as phased by being on the range in a winning position in front of their fans.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, and I think over the years, Wolfgang Pichler has created in their mindset that we can compete in the relays, and when you get results in the relays, that opens up to, well, if we can do it as a team in a relay, we can do it in the individual races. And that's what Wolfgang starts building with his teams, that belief that let's get the shooting fast, let's get confident on the range, and it's the shortest race, so that's where you can handle the pace initially, and I think that's a great way to build a team.
Best biathlon coach on the planet.
When you look at what he has created, I think Wolfgang Pichler stands out. It's tough. It's a tough sport, so you do have to push your athletes hard to make them the best they can be.
USA recovering in terms of position, but still over a minute behind. Through come Russia, now 1:22 behind. And there has to be a story there. Usually it's the shooting. Alisiev and Malishko, between them, have missed 8 rounds. They've done a penalty loop. That's where the damage was done. France have done a penalty loop as well, but they're still sitting up in 3rd position. That tells you how well they're skiing. But, you know, of times that I've seen Martin Fourcade have a meltdown, everyone is here in Ostersund. There's something about this range that doesn't suit him.
I'm just thinking, would you put him last? He didn't like it last year when his form was off, and that's maybe some confidence, little nervousness coming in, because he will not want to let his team down. But no, he's in such good form this year that it's just business as normal, biathlon as normal.
And that means occasionally it can go wrong.
I noticed the wind had dropped way off there when as the athletes came through on the handover. So the coaches will have briefed these 3rd leg athletes to where the shots were missing with the earlier athletes. Given the wind that was there now, they will have explained all of that to the 3rd leg athletes. So they've got that in the back of the mind. If it's windy, I need to adjust. 4 left, 4 clicks left, 3 clicks up.
Well, there's enough wind to make this race interesting, and as is so often the case here, this race is won on the range. You may gain 5, maybe even 10 seconds on a lap, but you can throw that away so easily on the range. Each spare round really costing about 10 seconds today, because it's making them think about what the wind is doing, where they should be aiming. Here come France with Simon Dessieux. Italy still in this one. Should the leading 3 make mistakes, the Italians will be thinking in terms of a top 3 today. Capillari holding his own at the moment. He's doing well. He came out of the exchange 20 seconds behind. He's now only 23 behind, so that's not bad at all, Mike. He's
lifting his game, isn't he? That's a huge increase on his track time from 3 days ago. And what about, we haven't really shouted the Slovenians much. Jakob Fak brought them right back into it with his good shooting. 5th position, ranked 14th last year. Well done, Slovenia. Ukraine ranked 10th last year. They're up in 6th place. And the Americans, probably the best in terms of rankings. Well, they are. They're ranked 18th. They're in 7th.
Slovenia had a very good World Championships here as well, finishing in 5th position. They were only some 18 seconds off the medals, and that was a fine performance, but they only missed 5 targets all day. Slovenia at the moment have what have they missed? They've missed 6. Best shooting score so far belongs to Sweden, who lead, and then France, well, they've missed 5. They've done a penalty loop. That was really the key. Telenko of Ukraine is racing at the moment, and his team have only missed 4 so far. So the gap between Sweden and Norway is closed a little bit. Terje Bo taking it conservatively. What is the margin between Norway and France, who are in 3rd position?
Onseluma doesn't look phased, does he, that he's got one of the bows on his heels, or closing down at least. It was 10 seconds, it's now 3.
Can't work out whether that was just a subtle look behind to see where the opposition were, or just clearing the airways, let's put it that way. Capillari, 27, another 4 seconds disappearing. He's lost 4 seconds on the downhill, Mike. That doesn't bode well.
Does not bode well at all. I wonder if his legs are so exhausted from the track, he's been a little delicate on the corners.
Yeah, it's probably a little simplistic to say the downhill, because the key part of the downhill is over the top of the hill in the first 20 meters, because the harder you push, the faster you go, and if you're right on your limit, that's not very pleasant, and it tends not to get done.
You're just so right. You just think, oh, give us a break, just slight drop over this hill and let the energy take you down, but you need to really work over these crests.
Yeah, I've always thought that all interval sessions should finish with a downhill section, just to get into the habit of working over the crests.
So true. Get that good habit built in. Look at Terje Bo. He's so focused on what he does properly, getting into position well, getting his breathing under control, checking the flags. The wind is picking up from the front left again, but dropping down so quickly.
Terje taking his time for the first round. He's on a roll now, and he'll sense the misses coming from Sweden, and it seems to have distracted him. Keep an eye on to Simon Desieux. Things can swing 20, 25, 30 seconds each way so easily in one shoot. So the first one goes wide for France. The wind not particularly problematic. It's Norway who get away first.
Sweden on the penalty loop.
On the penalty loop. And
he doesn't know what to do. That was 3 clicks left. The wind's dropped though, so I think the miss will be to the left if he does miss.
Well, that's tricky, because Sweden zeroed in lane 6, Norway zeroed in lane 1, next door to the one they were shooting on then, and then the French zeroed in 4 but were shooting on 3, so they were much closer to the position where they got the rifle aligned.
What a pity for Sweden. In first, they'll be out. In what, 4th position, 5th maybe.
Italy still surviving though, Mike, and they've been quickest through the range. First time of asking on this 3rd leg. From 28 seconds, they've cut the margin to 21.7. So brilliant performance by Capillari. Dominic Vindish will be cheered with that. He's the man on the ankle leg for Italy.
I hope Vindish doesn't think back to the World Championships here, where he did 2 penalty loops. Hope he's thinking positively.
Slovenia. Great shooting from Slovenia. That's a really good effort, but the wind has died down. That's really what you want, isn't it, in a relay, Mike? If you could organise it so the first 5 teams get loads of wins, loads of errors, and the rest get nice, calm conditions, just to keep things nice and tight.
Let them catch up, that's what I say too. Onseluma, it's 40 seconds, he's still there, he's 19 seconds off 3rd place. They can still smell the podium. America. Let's get them. Alex Ho. 1 shot left.
Germany trying to come back into it with Arndt Piper. He gets 5 with 5. Lots of work to do. 131 behind. I cannot see them getting they're not going to get a win, surely. But a top 5 is still going to be quite a tough task.
Russia back up into the game. They're in 6th place now. 1 minute 6 behind.
Well, there are your top 9 teams, and Norway ahead of France, ahead of Italy, Sweden the host nation in 4, and Slovenia doing brilliantly in 5th position at the moment, 58 behind. Painful viewing for the coach. High right.
Way off. Yeah. You're talking a centimetre away.
Terje Bo, 17 seconds to play with, and he was 19 seconds ahead of France at the exchange. You know, this is coming down to the, you know, the duel in biathlon for the last 2.5 years, Mike. Johannes Tingesbø versus Martin Fourcade, with the man who's on the better form starting behind.
There's a lot to gain and lose psychologically here today. The battle of the giants, yes, coming up on the last leg. But there's still this little thing called stand shooting to get in the way, and that could separate them, the French and the Norwegians, by more than, well, 20 seconds.
Yeah, I think advantage to Norway at the moment, not just because they've got a 20-second lead, but because Dessieux is the man chasing. Dessieux is the man who's pushing maybe just that little bit harder than you would have expected. Clement Bauer, now, if he can shoot well in the stand, and it's a big capital if, then he's going to keep Slovenia in a really strong position. First 7 teams through the 3.8-kilometer stage on leg 3. And remember, it's a 7.5-kilometer leg, including the 2 shoots. And Norway, France, Italy, Sweden, the top 4 teams. 44 seconds between them. We've seen some dramatic, I was going to say comebacks, but actually meltdowns, I think, is a better word in the relay, where teams like Germany have been a minute ahead of everyone coming into the last shoot and still lost the race. That's why we love biathlon. We've seen a few already, actually, Mike, in the single mixed relay. We saw some appalling shooting.
We have, absolutely have. And interesting seeing Ziggy Mazet just looking up to the big screen there. He's the French coach on the range. And I think he would have expected Dessieux to hold Tariabo, or maybe even close down on the track, but it's going the other way. Not by much. And Ponsaluma, we saw him looking back at the top of the big hill. Well, he will know now that he's got a good gap. It's, what, 20 seconds to Clement Bauer. So safely in 4th at the moment for the home team.
Yeah, difficult waxing conditions. There's been a bit of fresh snow. There's been a lot of artificial snow laid down. This is where so many of the teams come and train now. The Swedes obviously making this their base year round. And it certainly caught out Norway in the last race. A little bit of wind, but we're in the standing position now. Tariabo, hugely experienced, winner of the overall World Cup way back in 2011, up alongside Simon Dessieux of France. Dessieux, Mike, you know, not to forget, he was number 4 in the World Cup standings at the end of last year, a couple of places above Tariabo.
Great start.
There's lots of movement. This is reflex. (4-0). So just needs to take a couple of deep breaths.
Tariabo, he took 17 seconds to the first shot, so that's longer than normal. He settled himself, and it really has paid off.
Came in 19 seconds clear, and these last 2 shots are going to take, what, 15 seconds at least for Dessieux.
Oh, he needed that one.
He keeps France in the race. Maybe the lead will be cut to something like 15. Away go Italy. Great shooting from Capillari. Oh, that's fantastic from the junior member of the team. And he's kept Italy in with a chance of finishing in the top 3. Dominic Vindish is next. Sweden working hard. Ponsiluoma's had an absolute nightmare on the range. He's got 2 rounds, 2 targets to hit. Might even be overtaken by Slovenia at this stage.
He dropped a round on the floor. You're allowed to pick it back up. And it was that nerves. You just want to keep hold of these bullets.
Now, barring that first shot, Mike, from Clement Bauer, that was one of the best standing shoots I think we've ever seen from him. Absolutely rattled through targets 2, 3, 4 and 5, but not quick enough to keep Russia at bay.
Come on, Clement. Oh, come on, come on. And there's Germany in alongside now, as well as Ukraine.
It's down.
Yes.
It's down. They can breathe a sigh of relief. And we've got Roktasan on the last leg for Slovenia. So still a chance of top 3. all sorts of things could happen with those leaders. Germany,
I'm surprised.
Can you see it come back? I don't think so. Pfeiffer's thrown
surprised.
too wide.
The wind is kind there. That's not moving the end of the barrel at all. But he really has been pushing hard on the track to close that deficit down. And it was 1 minute 47. Huge deficit back from Germany. Oh, now it's another penalty loop for Germany. They've been on the penalty loop 3 times already. The worst shooting of the day, alongside Finland.
Well, it's remarkable that they're still where they are with so many penalty loops. USA are away, only 1 mistake. That was good shooting from Alex Howe. Travis Cooper is on their anchor leg. They've used Sean Doherty, who generally is their best biathlete at the moment. He went on leg number 1, trying to keep them in contention. We've seen that's generally what the weaker teams do, those who don't have the strength in numbers.
Indeed, Austria are having a horrible day. They're down in 19th, 18th. But they can pull that back. That's coming into the range. And Julian Eberhardt, he'll be trying to get 5 out of 5.
Well, this is going to be interesting, Mike. Dessure closed the gap to 16.5 coming out of the range. It looks to me as though Tadebo has put the pedal down and he's extended it. Oh, in fact, he hasn't. He's lost half a second. So the 2 leading teams going full out at the moment. Norway leading France, and we've got Italy still in 3rd place.
Dessure, he's on the edge, on the limit of his capacity, hanging in low to try and maximize the speed off the descent from the high point.
Capillari, he was at 27, and the gap has now opened up as the leaders have really started to put the pressure on. Russia and Sweden are coming back at Italy. Dominic Vindish is going to have a bit of a battle. Vindish, though, Mike, he likes this sort of situation. His 2 victories have come in mass starts. On both occasions, he's been the man that they've been hunting out of the last shoot.
Very much so. He'd rather... Well, he is chasing. He's at 52 behind, so he's chasing the 2 giants. But
well, I'm sort of suggesting that Italy are thinking a top 3 is a brilliant race.
It is a brilliant race for the men's biathlon team. You would expect it from the women's team now in Italy, but hey, with the World Championships in February going to Italy, this is a wonderful start to their season.
Johannes Tingis versus Martin. That is just what we wanted to see. First time they go head-to-head today. They've been involved in time trial races. It is not quite the same.
I wonder what Johannes Tingis is going to do. Is he going to 16 seconds, not a lot? Is he going to try and maintain 16? Will he back off on the first lap? I think he has to go for it. I think last year he would try and open it up to 22 seconds.
I think he needs to relax. You know, we saw some brilliant shooting from him in the relay last weekend. Absolutely sensational standing shoot from him in the mixed relay. And if he just takes the pressure off his own shoulders, then I think we'll see something good from him. If not, Martin Fourcade is likely to be the man who comes out on top.
Dessure is really bringing the clock down. It was 16, now it's 12.2, or at last point of checking.
So that's 4 seconds on the downhill alone, or essentially downhill.
Good skis.
Yeah, again.
Johannes Tingis, he must be feeling nervous because only, what, I think 10 seconds now behind. He will be starting.
Well, he raced on Wednesday. He's had a couple of days off. And away goes Martin Fourcade. You can see the intention in the tempo. He's going to blast his way out of this stadium. 11.3 behind. He's got a long climb in the early part of the loop where he'll probably try and get into contact and psych out the Norwegian. Last year, it was Johannes Tingis who was psyching out Martin Fourcade. This year, with the results we've had, I know they've both had a win apiece, but I think it's probably the other way around.
Indeed, I'm so impressed with Ponsaluma. He hasn't provided on the range, but he's really digging deep on the track to get Sweden back in there.
Big opportunity for Italy to get a podium slot, but the task is now looking a little bit harder. Don't underestimate Dominic Vindish. He loves these sort of situations. He starts ahead of Sweden, and then Russia just behind them. And the Russians relying on the strength of Alexander Loganov, who's pretty reliable in the relay situation. So difficult one to call. I think we're in for a cracking finish, but surely Norway and France are going to be sharing the lead. One of them is going to get the victory today. So 1 minute 24 separating the top 6. We've got 11 seconds between Norway and France. Tidy boat, pretty solid.
Pretty good, no major problems on the range. He's working hard on the track and handing over to his young brother, or younger brother.
Well, the margin still looks to be at around 11 seconds, may even be a fraction more, Mike. Martin Fourcade came out of the stadium very, very hard, but Johannes Tingis last year was a good 0.5% quicker than Martin Fourcade right the way throughout. That seemed to be the difference. His ski speed was 0.5% quicker. His prone shooting was better. He didn't improve his standing shoot last year from the season before. Actually, it dropped off a tiny bit. But it was that ski speed that got him out of trouble so many times. I
think you're so right. And Martin Fourcade this year has got that explosiveness through the drive through his legs. His mindset is back. And 2 races in a row, he's had the top 2 ski speed times. He's back.
Here comes Fourcade up towards the 1.3.
Well, it was 11.3 seconds, and now it's 14.7.
Well, that's interesting. 2 spare rounds. So that gives Johannes Tingis a little bit of an advantage. But on what we've seen, he needs that going into the last stand shoot. Should they come in to the last stand, Mike, side by side, it's going to be a fascinating. It's not a physical battle. It's not a talent battle. It's a mental battle.
It is. And although Johannes Tingis was 3 minutes 14 slower than this man on the track over 20 kilometers, his first 2 laps of 4 kilometers were brilliant. Johannes Tingis was one of the fastest over the first 6-7 kilometers, and then he just faded away. I think partly because of the slower skis.
I think so. If you're pushing a pair of skis that feel as though they've got sandpaper underneath, you can keep speed for a bit, but when you go, you go. And he dropped off dramatically.
Yeah, he absolutely did. Vindish is trying so hard to close the gap, but I think an indication of Johannes Tingis pace, he's lost 10 seconds.
Samuelsson has gone from 108 to 112, so he's lost 4. Loganov has gone from 109 to 117, so he's lost 8 seconds to the race leader, Johannes Tingis. But even those are tiny, tiny margins compared to what you can lose on the range. And they've still got 2 shoots to go. 6 down, 2 to go. Only of the leading 6 teams, only 50% have avoided the penalty loop. Norway, Italy and Slovenia, which is why they're right up there. Best shooting of the day, as far as I can see, is the Italians. I don't think anyone else has matched them.
It is the Italians.
And if we're going to give you the best, we might as well give you the worst. And who are we going to give that to, Mike? Germany with 4 penalty loops?
They will be amazed. I am amazed. Germany is the worst shooting team. 4 times round the penalty loop, 9 spare rounds used. And remember, Eric Lesser didn't use any spare rounds. First leg, they were first position.
I wonder how that affects the German women's team, who are no doubt sitting at home in the hotel watching this.
Yeah, that's they'll be surprised. Let's say that Mazet, the French man coaching the Norwegian team, he used to be he's the man that gave Martin Fourcade a lot of confidence, a lot of belief in his abilities.
Shoot number 1, and good news for the race leaders. The wind is calm at the moment, but it only takes an instant for it to change. There you go.
There you go. It's changed. Strong from the front left. They will have, the coaches have showed them the fall of the shots, what that wind does to a round that was zeroed earlier. Wind's dropped off.
It's a good start from Johannes Tingis. First mistake.
Rapid refill, the spare round going in that chamber quickly.
Chance for Fourcade to close the gap. 3 targets to go. 2 now. Down it goes. 4 out of 4. He makes it 5 out of 5. And that is how to do it. Just took his time. There was absolutely no rush. And having come in some 17 seconds down, he's going out just about 7. So a gain of 10 due to the fact that he did not miss. 8.4 the margin at the moment. Game on. What is going to happen on the penultimate lap here? Johannes Tingesbø has decisions to make. Does he go all out to try and extend it back up, or does he say, no, I can match Fourcade on the range?
Oh, tense stuff.
Are we going to get a sprint finish?
Oh,
hope so. Italia misses up to 13. So Italy hang on to that precious 3rd place, but Russia are getting closer and closer and closer.
Oh, Samuelsson, this is his worst day for a very long time in relays. He's normally magic on the penalty loop. What a real pity for the Swedish team.
Yeah, they're going to be roughly 30 seconds behind. Not 30, they're going to be roughly 2 minutes behind coming out of the penultimate shoot. The top 4 teams should be safe, but if we get an Ostersund gale blowing through the range for the final shoot, then it can all change very, very quickly. Norway lead, France in second, 8.4 now the margin, closest they've been to the Norwegians for a while. And then Italy, who've been hanging on by their fingertips, are still there in 3rd place. Now we saw a little slow-mo, Fourcade losing his glasses. Does that count as losing something on the range?
Technically, Patrick, you're not allowed to leave anything on the range.
We've seen it before, and he didn't get penalised.
It was an accident, but you're not allowed to leave anything on the range area. I think we'll have to see that slow-mo again. I didn't see it in real time. He may well have just passed. There is a line before and after the range.
6-second change, swinging towards the Norwegians. Johannes Tinges's tactics are pretty obvious. Just wondering whether Fourcade's actually a little bit tired after his efforts in the individual. It was a phenomenal ski.
It's a half marathon with a 720-metre climb on Wednesday, and he destroyed the field with the ski speed that he had. He wanted to make a point, so I think he will still be feeling that 3 days later.
Canada, but things have changed. Canada have gone up to 11. We've got Austria in 12th, and America now dropping down to 13th. 12 misses, no penalty loops for the Americans, but that's a disappointing turn of events for them. They've got one more shoot to make up for that. Loganov of Russia, 133 behind. After the shoot, Russia were 128, so he's lost 5 seconds, but still sitting in 4th place. Here's your race leader, and a big moment for him. Mixed bag of results for Johannes Tinges here in Ostersund, not only this year, but also last year in the World Championships. And on what, 2, 3 occasions, he came in for the last shoot in a winning position and blew it.
Remember the pursuit, he came in, as you say, I think it was 54 seconds ahead of anybody, and then in comes Pegrushny, not expected to do much. He hit all 5. Johannes Tinges missed all 3, so from 1st to 7th. And just looking at that last shoot, Canada, in the shape of Christian Gower, came in 16th position. 5 out of 5 rapid fire. He's gone all the way up into 11th. That's a good step forward, and taken the rivals as well in the process, America.
Now, Johannes Tinges obviously with a 15-second advantage. You've seen that. That possibly is 2 missed rounds, although it's about 1.5, because once you've missed more than 1, that second round you tend to take a bit more time to, a bit more care, a bit more time to get it down. Other things to consider. Johannes Tinges has skied that second loop very, very quick. And Martin Fourcade is generally a very good finisher on the last 2.5-kilometre loop. So you sort of feel that Johannes Tinges needs a 10-second lead.
You feel that way, without a doubt. Maybe Fourcade has been conservative with the energy.
5 with 5 and he'll have it.
I think he's going to go rapid fire.
Exactly the same. He's pulled back 8-9 seconds, 7 seconds the margin. Where is he going to gain the time? Johannes Tingis has worked very hard on the first 2 laps. I just got the feeling that Martin Fourcade was not panicking on that last loop, just saying, look, I'll hit 5 out of 5. I'll save 5-10 seconds in the legs for the last lap.
That was a masterful performance, T. Maybe you're right. Maybe he held back just to get his breathing under control, to go for that steady 5 shots. Pulled back 8 seconds, but it didn't take him to the front. And I thought Johannes did very well to risk fast shooting. I think he had to make that decision, and he pulled it off with just 1 spare round.
But 5 out of 5 in the race was his.
5 out of 5, he was gone, done and dusted. I think he might still be.
The next split point is going to be at 6.3 kilometers.
Look at this for 3rd place. Vindish, not renowned for his stand shooting. Logging off is. Logging off is going to only shoot fast.
10 seconds between them coming in.
And he missed the last. Logging off missed the last.
I think he thought he had it. He'd almost had the rifle on his shoulders before the bullet got to the end of the range, and that only takes, what, 0.03 of a second. So advantage swinging towards Italy. Loganoff's going to have to do something on this last lap. As I said, 10 seconds between them coming in, and at the initial phases, there was, only 9 between them, so not a lot has changed. There hasn't been a real acceleration from Loganoff to convince you that he's got it in the legs to close that gap down.
I'm with you. If this was last year, the ski speed that he set last year, you would say yes. Today, no. Samuelsson, you might have heard the spectator shouting, came in, built his position, rapid fire, 5 out of 5.
I can't believe we're talking as though Johannes Tingis is in trouble as he leads out of a relay in 1st position. But his form just hasn't been as convincing as it was last year. But he suddenly looks a little bit gaunt. At the start of the race, I thought Martin Fourcade looked a decade younger than Johannes Tingis.
Well,
pending fatherhood, I think that's the answer.
Just thinking, Patrick, with Italy in 3rd place, of course, they won in Oberhof 2 years ago, the Italian team, on a very windy day. Apart from that, it's been a bleak period all the way back to mid-1990s. Probably Borovets when they won the World Championships in Bulgaria.
Yeah, things didn't go well for Italy in the World Championship relay. Finished down in 15th. They generally finish in the top 6, so a podium finish for the Italians is absolutely superb.
It's spectacular.
And it's going to be interesting to see whether the Italian women, they've got 2 world-class women in Vitozzi and Vera, we know all about them. San Filippo, she's won a World Cup, you know, you can't rule her out.
Not at all.
It's always been the 4th person.
Does Vindish know that Loganoff cannot fight with them? No one's told him.
Doesn't matter. You like an athlete, you want an athlete on your team who is going to fight regardless, and we saw that. It's not the first time that Vindish has had to ski for his life, because he was involved in that single mixed relay with Dorothea Vera.
It's only a week ago, isn't it? He had to dig so deep to do the deeds that day. Johannes knows it's safe now because he's 23 ahead. Still has to get round the bend. It's been a good relay.
Yeah, interesting. Certainly mistakes early on coming from France. Surprise from France. Was it Fillon-Maillet or was it Jacquelin who made mistakes on the range? They've had 1 penalty loop to ski.
Fillon-Maillet, I think it was.
Or was it Dessieux? Can't remember. Seems so long ago.
Too exciting to remember anything. The Swedes, they wanted a podium, but Samuelsson melted on the throne, but he provided in the stand.
So the world champions take the win here in Östersund on the same tracks that they got that title back in March. And even quicker than they did on that day. 1:10.30 the winning time, missing 6 targets. Today they've missed 9, but produced faster ski times. That's nothing to do with the athletes, it's generally to do with the snow conditions.
It is, and I'm just thinking that's 4 in a row for Norway at World Cup, Stroke World Championships. They won the last 3 last season.
It certainly is.
What about Fourcade? He had a 7-second deficit. He did try. He tried in the early part, but he could not fight.
Yeah, I think realising that Johannes was a bit too tough. I think his teammates would be a bit disappointed with that. Mike, maybe we just expect too much from Martin Fourcade. He knows how difficult it is to race against anyone else, let alone race against Johannes Tingnes when you've given him an 8-second advantage.
It's, yeah, those margins, they sound small, but they're not at that level. Well done, Vindish. Well done, Italy.
Yeah, they've done exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. And I think hats off to Daniel Capillari, who took the 3rd leg. It was always going to be a little bit shaky, but he held his nerve, he shot well, he skied solid. I think maybe he'd ski the first lap a tiny bit slower next time. But they are delighted with that. And Dominic Vindish, for the 2nd time in a week, brings home a team into a podium finish. It was first last time in the single mixed relay. Today they get 3rd. Italy, like Sweden, getting more and more success on the biathlon scene. Has to be a good thing.
It has to be, and the big names, past big names in biathlon, Russia, it's not been a great season last year for them. The first race last year they were 5th. They're 4th this time around. They had 2 5ths, 2 3rd and a 1st last year.
Yeah, they won in Oberhof, which is always a tricky one, and often they do very well here, but not today. Sweden, well, frustration, and quite rightly so. Their shooting score tells the story. 2 penalty loops in all, and Samuelsson was off the mark, and some poor shooting from Pomsalomo early on his leg. But top 5.
Well, it's been a fabulous World Cup for the men. That's they've got an easy time now through to Friday. But it's been interesting. Johannes Tingnes' goal was very convincing today, totally unconvincing 3 days ago, convincing at the weekend, so up and down. But Martin Fourcade mostly back. Ukraine, I think that's a good performance from them. No penalty loops, same shooting as Norway.
So over the week, honours shared really, Mike, with Norway getting the sprint win with Johannes Tingnes and France then totally dominating the individual race on Wednesday. Today, good battle developing between the top, and the perfect scenario with the 2 best biathletes in the world going head-to-head on that last leg.
Yeah, that was a great setup. I thought we might have seen a fight, but it wasn't to be. Slovenia jumping in terms of ranking from 14th to 7th today. That's the biggest gain so far.
Yeah, they've been solid throughout. They let it slip a little bit in the closing stages. I think they'll be a bit frustrated they didn't challenge Ukraine and Sweden. Germany down in 8th, 3:23, 4 penalty loops. That's an extra 600 metres they've skied.
Well, and a 6 nation gain for Bulgaria. That's a wonderful performance. No penalty loops, 10 spare rounds.
Switzerland, never seen, never really in it. Poor start from the Swiss, Jeremy Finello on the first leg. But the day belonging to Norway here in Ostersund, the host nation Sweden have seen that so many times. They must be fed up with it. But the Norwegians, a class performance. Dale was a little shaky. Bjørntegard solid to get them up into a good position. Tarjei Bø and then Johannes Tingnes to wrap it up as we watch the sprint coming in between, is this Canada and Austria?
Czech Republic, Austria.
Austria getting 4:22 down in 12th position, and the Czech Republic 13th. They would have expected a little bit better than that. They're certainly capable of a top 7 or 8. Well, that wraps up the action from Ostersund for today. Just one more race to go this weekend, the women's 4x6, as we have a look at some pictures from the USA. Beaver Creek Alpine Skiing coming up next with Nick Fellows, and of course the Alpine Tour heading back to Europe. Val d'Isère hosting the Premier Neige next weekend, so lots to look forward to there. Hope you join like myself, tomorrow for the women's relay. Could be Germany, could be France, could be Norway, could be Italy. It's going to be a really tight one. Today, the honours belonging to Norway. 1:10:30, the winning time in the men's 4x7.5.
French coach. Bravo.
Hello Paris, hello Paris. L'équipe de ski ici. 2, 2, 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Bonsoir Paris. Here we go with Beaver Creek, the big downhill.
Hang on to that precious third place, but Russia are getting closer and closer and closer.
Johannes, congratulations. After the individual, you said the team.
Non, c'est grand, tu vas taper. C'est froid, t'es italien?
Ouais, belle course, mais là, en remplaçant, il tire à 0-0 et assez rapidement.
Non, une. Ouais, il fait bon, hein. Ah, on n'aurait pas parié sur...
Non, avec...